Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment when the storm no longer knocks on the door, it breaks it down. It doesn't wait for an invitation. It doesn't check your schedule. It doesn't care if you're already tired, already wounded, already stretched too thin. It just shows up loud, unapologetic, and unrelenting. And sometimes the storm doesn't come with rain and thunder. It comes in silence, in the texts that don't get answered, in the opportunities that pass you by, in the relationships that crumble without warning, in the mornings you wake up and wonder how you're going to make it through another day. But I came to speak life into the woman who's still standing, even though everything around her is falling apart. I came to remind you that being tired doesn't mean you're finished. Being afraid doesn't mean you've failed. Being in the middle of the storm doesn't mean you've been forgotten. You may not have all the answers. You may not know the way forward. You may be clinging to hope by a thread, but let me tell you something. That thread is stronger than you think. That thread has kept you through nights when your pillow was soaked with tears. That thread has carried you when you didn't even realize you were being carried. And that thread isn't just any ordinary thread. That thread is made of purpose, of grace, of resilience that cannot be broken. Sometimes we think strength looks like perfection, like always having it together, like never bending under pressure. But real strength is crying in the shower and still showing up for work. Real strength is having a panic attack in your car and still walking into that room like you belong there. Real strength is saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and doing it anyway, because help doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes help is not the storm stopping, it's the shelter you find in the middle of it. Sometimes help is not people showing up, it's discovering you can survive when they don't. Sometimes help is the still, small voice in your soul that says, keep going, don't give up, you're not done yet. You don't need everyone to understand your journey, you just need to be willing to walk it. You don't need applause to know you're worthy, you don't need permission to grow, you don't need validation to rise. What you need is the courage to believe that your life is not over just because this chapter feels dark. Do not mistake the darkness for defeat. There are seeds that grow in the dark. There is healing that happens in silence. There is power being developed in your hidden seasons. They don't see the tears you cry at night. They don't know the fight that happens behind your smile. They don't understand the weight you carry and still find the strength to speak life into others. But you do, and the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still hoping, that tells me everything I need to know. You are not weak because you need help. You are not broken because you feel broken. You are not less than because you've had to rebuild. Sometimes help is not a hand pulling you out. It's a presence standing beside you saying, you're not alone. And let me speak to the one who has been pouring into everybody else, giving encouragement, strength, energy, wisdom, yet going home to an empty cup. You have been strong for so long that you've forgotten what it means to lean. But even the strong ones need rest. Even the warriors need covering. Even the trailblazers need a moment to be still. Today is your moment, not because everything is perfect, but because everything doesn't have to be for you to rise. This storm won't last forever. The winds will not always howl this loud. The nights won't always be this long. There is a breaking coming, a shift, a turn in your favor. And it won't be because you forced it or faked it or chased it. It will be because you stood still long enough to allow the storm to pass and the new day to come in. And while you're standing, I want you to remember, you are not forgotten, not overlooked, not invisible. Even in the places where your name is not spoken, your purpose is still moving. Even in the spaces where you feel unseen, your growth is still happening. This storm is not the end of you. It's the making of you, the becoming of you, the transformation that only pressure can produce. So if you feel like you're about to break, let it break. Let the old you break. Let the fear break. Let the insecurity break. Let the need for approval break. Because what will rise from those broken pieces is someone who no longer waits for storms to stop in order to walk forward. Someone who dances in the rain, who prays in the pain, who shines in the shadows, and when people ask how you made it, Because they will, you'll smile with the kind of peace that can't be explained. You'll say, I didn't make it on my own. I had help, not the kind you always see, not the kind that always speaks, but the kind that shows up in the fire, in the silence, in the chaos, the kind that walks with me even when I don't have the strength to walk myself. You didn't survive all that you did to shrink now. You didn't endure all that pain to play small. You didn't cry all those tears just to give up halfway. There's more in you, more for you, more ahead of you. So hold on even if your grip is weak. Keep going even if your steps are slow. Lift your head even if your heart is heavy. The storm may have come to shake you, but it will not break you. And when the clouds clear and the light breaks through, you'll realize what you always needed was never outside of you. It was within you the whole time. You've got this, because help is here, right now, in this moment, in this breath. Real strength is found in perseverance, not perfection. We live in a world that praises the highlight reel, that celebrates the end result but rarely shows the process. Perfection has been paraded like a badge of honor, as if struggle is something to be ashamed of and vulnerability is a weakness. But the truth is, some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who had every reason to quit, but didn't. The ones who didn't always get it right, but refused to stay down. The ones who walked through storms with shaky legs and still kept walking. Perseverance doesn't always look powerful. Sometimes it looks like silent battles behind closed doors. It looks like wiping your tears in the bathroom stall and going back to the meeting like nothing happened. It looks like showing up for your family when you barely have anything left for yourself. It looks like praying with a cracked voice, loving with a guarded heart, and trying again even after failure. You may not have it all figured out. You may stumble, fall, cry, even collapse for a moment. But you get up. That's the mark of strength. Not that you never break, but that you choose not to stay broken. You don't need to impress anyone with a flawless life. You don't need to perform strength. Real strength doesn't shout, it doesn't sparkle, it doesn't always look picture perfect. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's quiet, but it's real. Perfection is a mask. Perseverance is the real face of courage. It says, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. It recognizes that healing is a journey, not a straight line. Growth comes in stages, and every step forward, even the smallest one, count. Sometimes we disqualify ourselves because we see our flaws, our past, our mistakes, and assume we're not strong enough to make it. But what if those very scars are the evidence of your strength? What if the things you thought made you less actually make you more? More compassionate, more grounded, more prepared, more real. Perseverance is refusing to let what went wrong stop you from making things right. It's the refusal to bow down to fear even when you feel afraid. It's the decision to keep believing in your future, even when your present feels unstable. There will be moments where your strength doesn't look like moving mountains. It looks like getting out of bed. It looks like speaking kindly to yourself when you feel like a failure. It looks like taking a deep breath, choosing peace, and walking away from what no longer serves you. You don't owe anyone a perfect image. You owe yourself the freedom to be human, to be evolving, to be in process, to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. The world may tell you that perfection is the goal, that if you're not polished, you're not powerful. But that's a lie. You are powerful because you keep going. You are powerful because you don't give up. You are powerful because every time life tried to knock you out, you got back up again. That's strength. And that's enough. Storms reveal resilience, not defeat. Life doesn't give warnings before it shakes the ground beneath you. 1 minute you're steady, the next you're trying to find your footing. The storm comes in many forms: loss, betrayal, disappointment, unexpected change. And it doesn't wait for you to be ready, but storms don't show up to destroy you. They show up to reveal what you're made of. To test the foundation, to expose both the cracks and the courage you didn't know you had. It's easy to believe that a storm means you've done something wrong, that because everything feels like it's falling apart, you must have failed. But the presence of chaos doesn't mean the absence of strength. In fact, it's often in the chaos that strength rises. Not the kind of strength that makes noise, but the kind that gets you through nights you didn't think you'd survive. The kind that keeps your feet moving even when your heart is tired. The kind that builds in silence, in private, without applause. The storm doesn't come to define you. It comes to refine you, to strip away what you thought you needed. To clear the path of distractions, to remove people who can't go where you're headed. It comes to cleanse, to sharpen, to reset. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's disorienting. But when you come through it, and you'll realize that what you lost is nothing compared to what you've gained. Wisdom, clarity, endurance, and a deeper awareness of who you are. You don't need to avoid storms to be powerful. In fact, it's surviving the storm that makes you powerful. That shows you who you really are when the titles are stripped away, when the plans fall apart, when the vision gets blurry. That's when your real self speaks. Not the curated version of you, not the Instagram-worthy version, but the resilient, gritty, truth-telling version. The version of you that knows how to bend without breaking. Some storms are external, loss, change, heartbreak. But some are internal, the battles no one sees, the storms of self, doubt, of shame, of anxiety, of fear, and yet every time you choose to stay in the fight, even with trembling hands, you prove that the storm didn't win. The storm reveals what comfort cannot. It calls you to a deeper strength, a deeper trust, a deeper surrender. It forces you to let go of what no longer serves your growth, to unclench your grip from what you thought you needed. And in the process, it reveals something unshakable within you, something that was never touched by the wind or the waves, something that remains. You may come out with scars, but they will tell a story, not of defeat, but of survival. You'll say, I went through the fire and didn't burn. I walked through the rain and didn't drown. You'll walk differently, speak differently, carry yourself with a quiet boldness that only comes from weathering the hardest moments of your life and realizing you're still here. Resilience is not perfection under pressure. It's persistence despite the pressure. It's choosing to breathe in the middle of the panic, to believe in purpose while surrounded by pain, to trust the process when the path looks unclear. And every time you decide to keep moving forward, even if it's just one step, you show the storm it didn't break you. Let it rage, let it howl, let it come. You are not made of paper. You are not made of fear. You are made of fire, of endurance, of spirit that refuses to quit. So when the winds blow, stand tall, not because you're invincible, but because you're resilient. The storm is loud, but your strength is louder. Help isn't always visible, but it's always present. There are moments in life when silence feels heavier than the noise, when you've cried all the tears you can cry, spoken every prayer you know how to speak, and still, everything around you feels still. Quiet, empty, you look around for a hand to hold, for someone to notice, for a voice to say, I see you. And sometimes no one does. That's when doubt starts to whisper. That's when you begin to question if you're really going to make it through. Because help isn't always packaged the way we expect. It doesn't always come through people. It doesn't always show up in timing we understand, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Help can be silent. It can be slow. It can be disguised as strength you didn't know you had until you needed it. Help sometimes doesn't look like rescue, it looks like resilience. It's not the storm stopping. It's the umbrella you find in the middle of the rain. It's the peace that shows up at 3 a.m. when you should be panicking, but somehow you're not. It's the stranger's smile, the song that plays at the right moment, the memory that reminds you you've made it through worse. You may think you're walking alone, but look again. That strength you found to rise out of bed this morning, that was help. That breath you just took after crying on the floor all night, that was help. That little spark of hope buried beneath your fear, that was help too. We're often so focused on the dramatic rescue that we miss the quiet keeping, the invisible support that holds us up when our world is falling down. Sometimes help is a conversation that reminds you who you are. Sometimes it's a pause before a reaction that would have cost you your peace. Sometimes it's simply making it through the day without breaking apart. Don't overlook the small victories. That's help too. We assume help has to look like someone rushing in, fixing everything, making us whole in a moment. But help is often found in the strength to endure the process, not escape it. It's the grace to keep showing up when you're tired, the ability to stay soft when life has tried to harden you, the courage to try again when failure felt final. You're not forgotten, you're not forsaken. Even in the silence, support surrounds you. There are hands holding you up that you cannot see. There are doors being prepared for you to walk through. There is provision you haven't touched yet, but it's already yours. The invisible doesn't mean the absent. Just because you can't trace the hand doesn't mean the help isn't near. Every tear you've cried, every moment you felt overlooked, every time you've said, "I can't do this anymore," and yet you did. It was help. Quiet, faithful, present, you weren't carried by your own strength alone. Something greater has been lifting you, guiding you, sustaining you, even when it felt like you were standing still. Don't let the silence lie to you. Don't let the emptiness fool you. The help you need may not be loud, may not be obvious, may not come when or how you imagined. But it's here, it's in your breath, your will, your heart that keeps beating even when it's broken. Keep walking, keep reaching, keep hoping. Help is here, and it's not going anywhere. You are still growing, even in hidden or dark seasons. There's something sacred about the seasons where nobody sees you, where you feel buried beneath the weight of waiting, of healing, of becoming. It's in those places that growth often does its deepest work, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, not when everything is blooming, but when everything feels still. These are the moments when you're not being praised or promoted, when progress isn't obvious and yet your soul is stretching. We live in a culture that tells us growth is only real when it's visible, when there are results to measure, applause to gather, goals checked off. But that's a shallow definition of transformation. Real growth takes root in the unseen. Like seeds beneath the soil, there's a process happening underneath the surface long before anything breaks through. The darkness isn't the end of you, it's the beginning. It's the preparation ground for everything you're becoming. Some of the most important chapters of your story will be the ones nobody reads but you. The silent nights, the quiet prayers, the decisions to keep believing even when there's no evidence that things are changing. But just because it's not happening around you doesn't mean it's not happening within you. You are being strengthened in stillness, sharpened in the shadows, grown in grace. You may not feel powerful right now. You may feel unsure, insecure, like you're stuck in a place you didn't ask to be. But that place is part of the plan, not because it's comfortable, but because it's necessary. The dark seasons teach you how to hold on to truth when your feelings try to pull you in the other direction. They teach you how to listen deeper, wait longer, trust stronger. They grow your roots. When you can't see the fruit, focus on the roots. Are you learning to forgive? Are you becoming more patient? Are you getting clearer on who you are and what you deserve? That's growth, that's progress, that matters. You're not behind, you're not failing, you're not forgotten. You're just in a season where the work is inward, where the healing isn't visible, where the foundation is being laid for something greater than what you've seen. There's value in this season even if the world doesn't validate it. Some of the strongest people didn't become who they are because of the moments everyone saw. They became who they are because of the moments no one did. There will come a time when what's been growing in secret will come to light, when the strength you've built in silence will speak for itself, when you'll walk into rooms and carry a presence that can only come from surviving the dark and still choosing the light. So don't rush this season, don't despise it. You may not have clarity, but you have purpose. You may not feel growth, but it's happening. Every choice to show up, every moment of surrender, every breath you take in the middle of uncertainty is proof that you're still moving, still evolving, still becoming. Trust the process that doesn't always make sense, the silence that isn't empty, the pause that has purpose. Because what's forming in you now is preparing you for what's ahead. You are still growing. Bravely, quietly, powerfully, even here, even now, even in this. This storm is part of your transformation, not your end. There's a moment in every storm where it feels like it will never let up. When the winds are too loud, the weight is too heavy, and the fear whispers that maybe this is how your story ends. But what if it's not ending? What if this is the part of the story where the breakthrough begins to unfold? Not with fireworks or applause, but with a quiet shift inside of you. The truth is, storms don't come to finish you. They come to form you, to shape something within you that comfort never could. It's easy to forget in the middle of struggle that some of the greatest transformation happens when things fall apart. When the identity you wrapped in achievements, relationships, or titles is stripped away and you're left face with your true self, that's where transformation starts. In the ashes, in the rawness, in the undoing. The storm is not the end of your story. It's the fire refining you for the next chapter. Growth rarely feels good while it's happening. It feels like discomfort, like tension, like being stretched in ways you didn't ask for. But just because it hurts doesn't mean it's not holy. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not healing you. Change doesn't always come wrapped in clarity. Sometimes it arrives in chaos. And in that chaos, your character is being developed, your faith deepened, your courage pulled to the surface. This moment you're in, it's heavy, yes. It's stretching you, but it's also waking up parts of you that comfort lulled to sleep. Strength you didn't know you had, patience you never had to tap into, grace you only discovered because you had no choice but to lean on something deeper than your own understanding. You are not the same person who entered this storm. You're being redefined, refined, and realigned with something greater. We often try to pray storms away, and that's human. We want ease, resolution, safety. But sometimes the very storm we resist is the one pushing us into alignment with who we were always meant to be. Sometimes the storm is the vehicle that delivers us from where we were stuck. It disrupts what's no longer serving us. It forces us to confront what we've been avoiding, and through it all, it transforms us. Not into something new, but into who we truly are. There is purpose in this pain. There is wisdom in this wind. There is gold in the rubble. You might not see it now, but one day you'll look back and realize this storm wasn't the thing that destroyed you. It was the thing that delivered you, that reintroduced you to your strength, that cracked you open so that light could finally get in. Transformation isn't always visible. It doesn't always come with immediate results, but you'll feel it. In your deeper peace, in your stronger boundaries, in your clearer sense of identity, in the way you now say no to what once tempted you and yes to what truly feeds your soul, that's how you know the storm didn't win, it changed you. So if it's still raining in your life, don't panic. This isn't your downfall, it's your becoming, and though the process is hard, it's also holy. You are being rebuilt from the inside out. Every tear, every ache, every long night is part of the transformation. You are being prepared, not punished, strengthened, not shattered. This storm is not the end, it's the beginning of something unshakable within you. There is power in surrendering what you can't control. We fight so hard to hold everything together, affix, to plan, to predict. We carry weight we were never meant to carry, trying to orchestrate outcomes, protect ourselves from disappointment, and avoid the unknown. Control becomes a comfort blanket, a false sense of security, convincing us that if we just try harder, do more, think ahead enough, we can keep things from falling apart. But the truth is, life doesn't follow our script. And the more we grip tightly, the more exhausted we become. That's where surrender begins, not as a sign of weakness, but as an act of strength. Surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means giving over. It means recognizing the difference between what's in your hands and what's not. It means releasing the pressure to be everything for everyone, to carry what's crushing you in silence, to pretend you're okay when you're falling apart. Surrender is saying, I trust there is a greater plan even when I can't see it. I trust that what's meant for me won't miss me. I trust that even in chaos I can find peace. There is something powerful that happens when you stop fighting what isn't yours to fix. When you stop replaying the past trying to change what already happened. When you stop trying to force a future that isn't unfolding your way. In that stillness, where fear once sat, peace starts to rise. Not because the storm is gone, but because you've decided it doesn't have to control you. Control is heavy. It keeps you anxious, overthinking, always trying to manage people's opinions, outcomes, timelines. But surrender is light. It teaches you how to breathe again, how to stop striving and start trusting, how to walk in the unknown without needing every answer. It frees you from the illusion that your worth is tied to your performance or that your future depends on your perfection. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let go, not because you don't care, but because you care enough to stop destroying your peace. You were never meant to control how others see you, who stays or who leaves, what doors open or close. But you were meant to choose how you respond, how you love, how you show up with integrity even when others don't. That is where your power lies, in surrendering what isn't yours and owning what is. Letting go doesn't mean it won't still hurt. It doesn't mean you won't feel fear, grief, or uncertainty, but it does mean that those emotions don't get to run your life, that you're choosing to move forward anyway, that you're choosing trust over tension, peace over pressure, rest over restlessness. There is power in saying, "This is too heavy for me, and I'm not ashamed to put it down." A power in refusing to be everything to everyone. Power in embracing the mystery, in choosing presence over performance. In walking by faith and not by sight. You may not know how it's all going to come together, but you don't have to. That's not your job. Your job is to keep showing up, to keep surrendering what's beyond you, to live with open hands and an open heart, knowing that what's meant for you has a way of finding you, even in the detours, even in the delays. You don't have to carry it all, and you were never meant to. So let go, breathe, trust, and watch how peace fills the spaces that anxiety once tried to own. When life pulls you into storms you didn't see coming, when the silence feels deafening and help seems hidden, when the path ahead is unclear and the weight of it all presses on your soul, remember this: you are not lost, you are being led. Even in the dark seasons you are growing. Even in the stillness there is movement. Even in the pain there is purpose. Storms don't mean it's over. They mean something new is beginning within you. You are being refined by fire, strengthened in silence, stretched in surrender. You are learning to release what you can't control and hold tighter to what truly matters: peace, presence, purpose. Your story is not over because of what broke. In fact, that breaking may be what birthed the strongest parts of you. You are not who you were, and that's a beautiful thing. You are becoming. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. So don't despise this chapter. Don't rush the process. You are being carried through even when you don't feel it. And when the storm passes, and it will, you'll see that it didn't take you out. It took you deeper. It didn't end you. It elevated you. You'll rise with new wisdom, greater strength, and a testimony of grace that only comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. You're still here, and that means your breakthrough is too. Closer than you think, stronger than you feel, and more beautiful than you imagined.